Canon, Sigma, last night, both Sigma and Tamron announced that they will be making lenses for the Canon RF system. That means we will officially be getting third-party glass for Canon shooters. So let's talk about it. Share your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what lenses you want to see while I open up some of the boxes behind me. The big question that I know a lot of people are asking, or have been asking, is why don't we have third-party glass for the Canon system? And it's not that lenses are banned or autofocus is banned, it's just that Canon hasn't licensed the use of their RF mount to third-party manufacturers. But now it seems that they've changed their mind, or at least decided that they are officially going to be sharing that mount with Tamron and Sigma, or at least those two companies for now. So we now know that Sigma will be making an 18 to 50 f2.8. So it's one of their contemporary lenses. It's not their high-end art series. It's their kind of middle-of-the-road series that's designed for your everyday shooter. Someone who doesn't have $2,000 or $3,000 to spend on a lens, but is maybe in that $1,000 plus or minus price range. Aputure sent some of their 300Cs in white. If you didn't see the review that I did on these a year ago, pretty much to this month, go check it out. These are super awesome lights, and I think we're gonna be doing a few videos with these in the near future. So we've got two of those. Now, right now, these are just APS-C lenses. They're not lenses that will be designed to work with a Canon R5 or a Canon R6, although you can use them on a Canon R5 or a Canon R6. It just means you have to use it in the APS-C crop mode. But if you have something like an R10, an R50, or an R7, and you want a really good kit lens, the 18 to 55 will have that constant aperture of f2.8, because right now your only option is the 18 to 45. It has a variable aperture lens. I think it's 4.5 to 6.3, which is not the greatest if you're looking to do things like video and you want to keep your aperture looking the same at the different focal lengths. Well, now you can have one lens shoot at 18 wide angle, at 50 at that kind of more standard focal length range, and have the bokeh, out of focus background area, the shallow depth of field remain constant while you're zooming. Actually, technically that's not true. As you zoom, the depth of field changes, but the whole idea is that the brightness of the image remains the same whether you're at 18, 35, 24, or zoomed all the way into 50. Now, Tamron is gonna have a little bit of a different approach. They're actually going to be releasing a wide angle first. So that will be the 11 to 20 f2.8. Again, it's a constant aperture lens, which means if you're zooming in and out, the brightness of your video or the brightness of your photo won't change. And this is a great option if you're someone who has an R50 and wants to vlog. For me right now, when I do my vlogs, I'm usually shooting with this guy, which is the 15 to 35, and 15 millimeters on full frame is kind of like that perfect focal length that I can hold my camera about here. Actually, so I'm not shooting on this right now, I'm actually shooting on a Lumix. If you watched my shorts, you know that I've been testing the Lumix cameras over the last little while, but this is also their 16 to 35. It's a wide angle lens, which makes it perfect for scenarios like this, where I want to get my whole room in focus, or I want to go out and vlog. That wide angle focal length, that 11 to 20, that Tamron lens on a crop sensor camera is gonna be perfect for shooters who wanna do things like this. So one of the interesting things about the Sigma lenses is that not only are they a step up in terms of having that constant f2.8 aperture, but unlike the Canon STM lenses that have that variable aperture that are kind of in that, like the 18 to 45 is a $299, it's like a $300 lens. The next step up from that with Canon would be something like the 24 to 105, which is a constant aperture f4, but that jumps up to $1,200, $1,300. You're paying like $1,000 more. So the Sigma lenses if I have my numbers correct, are going to sit in that $499, $500 price point. So instead of having to pay $1,000 more, you're paying $200 more, getting that constant aperture, but then also getting weather sealing, which is something you don't get in any of the Canon lenses that are under $1,000. So the other lens that I often recommend to beginners, because again, we haven't had a lot of options up until now, is this guy, which is the 35 millimeter, will it focus? Come on, Lumix, focus. The 35 millimeter 1.8, and the nice thing about that is, again, constant aperture lens, but 35 is a little bit too tight to do any of that vlogging type of stuff, any of that wide angle stuff. You could get the 24, you could get the 50, but these lenses, even though they're at that $400, $500, $600 price point, don't have any weather sealing around the back. So the Sigma lenses will be coming with weather sealing. Did that autofocus, or did we mess up? How is the S5 IIX handling the autofocus? Is it good? I've been testing the Lumix mainly for photos, so this is kind of like my first official video test, but I'll talk about more on that in the next video. So right now, Tamron has only announced the one lens, but I imagine they'll be announcing more as they license the individual lenses from Canon. So that's kind of how it works, where they have to apply for a license to use them out. I'm assuming get the lenses approved and then they launch the lenses. But all the lenses that we're hearing are lenses that already exist for other systems. So why they chose APS-C lenses first, I know is a question that a lot of you have. But for me personally, looking at my audience, looking at people who shoot photos, who are just getting into photos, most of them are not looking at full frame cameras. They're not looking at a $3,000, $4,000 Canon R5, R6 Mark II. They're looking at an R7, at an R10, at an R50, and right now there aren't very many high quality lens options for those shooters. If you're wondering what this is, it is the Tamron F22X, so it's their bicolor, kind of like foldable, it's their foldable, kind of like matte LED panel, so that instead of having to do a massive softbox, you basically just get this guy, stick it in with the rods and the reflector around the perimeter, and you can basically set it up in the corner and have a really nice desk light or really nice down overhead light. So stay tuned for more. I have two of these, so stay tuned for more from this. Also, if you didn't see me pull it out at the beginning, we've got one of the spotlights. Super excited to try one of these. I actually used the spotlight on a recent shoot with the Lumix and used some of the gobos, like the inserts. So I believe there are some inside of this, so we'll be testing those out in an upcoming shoot. In addition to the kit lens, the 18 to 50 that Sigma will be launching, they'll also be launching a whole bunch of prime lenses. No, not Prime Energy drink, prime lenses. I've never tried Prime Energy. I wonder if it's any good. Now, if you know, I do a lot of work, a lot of shooting with my friend Stefano, who just happens to be a Sigma Canada ambassador. And so I was talking to him this morning and I said, hey, do you think when these lenses come in, we can probably give them a try? Because he shoots Sony and I shoot Canon, so it'd be a fun little collab to see what's possible with a lot of these new lenses. Now, it's not just the kit lens, it's not just the 18 to 50, it's also 10 to 18, 2.8 constant aperture. But then if you want good low light capabilities on your R7, on your R10, they're also gonna be releasing a 16, a 23, a 30, and a 56 millimeter f1.4, which is absolutely awesome because they're gonna be cute little tiny lenses that if you wanna do low light street photography, astro photography even on an APS-C camera, so that 16 millimeter, which is like a 24 millimeter equivalent, would probably be the perfect lens if you're looking to get into astrophotography and don't yet have a massive full frame camera. And then this here is the 19 degree Tamron kind of like spotlight. Oh my gosh, look at that glass. Can you see it? Can you see my eyeball? Just put that back in its case. Man, I love when you get the packaging and it has all these just free bubbles for you to pop. Let's see if we can My neighbors are gonna think that there's like gunshots going off. So what does it mean that these lenses are officially licensed? What does it mean that Canon has now opened their mouth? Well, you will get lenses with full continuous autofocus. Sigma also said that the lenses that they're gonna be putting out will have full CA chromatic aberration in body correction. So in Lightroom, when you shoot photos, you can usually choose to turn on and off chromatic aberration. That's the color fringing that you often get around really bright and dark objects. Now these third-party lenses will have support for that in-body chromatic aberration correction, which doesn't matter so much for photos, but matters a heck of a lot if you're a video shooter, because otherwise you have to get third-party software, and it's a tedious process that will now be made so much easier. There will be image stabilization, in-body image stabilization support. So that means the sensor interacting with whatever image stabilization is in the lens. Those two algorithms will work together. Of course, with the Canon lenses, you're always gonna have the best support with that first-party lens because those two are directly designed to work together. Now, Canon has said, here's the algorithm, here's the things that you can do to make sure the two work together, but image stabilization will be supported in those lenses that have image stabilization. And then the big thing is the EXIF data. So if you're someone who has cine lenses, like manual geared cinema lenses, like these Sirui ones, these Nightwalker ones that I've talked about before, these are APS-C lenses. They are completely manual, meaning when you attach it to your lens and you shoot photos or videos with it, there is no information. There is no, like you can even see right on the back, there are no contacts. So when you plug it in to your Canon R7 or your R50, no information is transferred. Well, now when you're shooting with a lens, let's say it's the 56mm lens, it will tell the body, hey, this is a 56mm lens, write that data into the photo so that when you're opening it in Lightroom, you can see, but also things like the image stabilization are dependent on the focal length. So when you're zooming, now that these lenses will support that communication, the image stabilization, the autofocus, all of those things will work together. And then in terms of future lenses, there are a few specific ones that I would like to see. I know everyone's gonna have, oh my gosh, I just hit myself in the I know there are different lenses that each of you wants to see. Like maybe you are a full frame shooter and you're looking at this going, like, why didn't Canon or why didn't Sigma and Tamron work together with Canon to do full frame lenses? Now, a lot of people are speculating that's because Canon still wants to control the full frame lenses that they're putting out. I actually think it's the opposite, where APS-C lenses are less expensive to produce. And again, like I mentioned earlier, is because that market is kind of underserved in having a lot of high quality options. This means that there are now gonna be those options for those shooters who are really hungry for lenses, versus if you're a full frame shooter and you're like, you know what, I got $2,000, I got $3,000, I'm just gonna buy the native first-party Canon lenses. So I think it's actually the smarter move to start with the lenses that less people have access to, that there's like that small group of people who want access to that. And then once they've cleared out that APS-C market who is looking for lenses, they'll move to things like the 24-70, which is one of the lenses that I would really like to see, so that we have a $1,000 kit, basic everyday lens for people who maybe are Canon R8 shooters and don't have those massive budgets. But then also a wide angle vlogging lens, because there are a lot of content creators who want to shoot less than 24mm. So 18mm, 16mm, 15mm. Sigma makes their contemporary 16 to 28 f2.8. That is a roughly $900 lens, and I would love to see a lens like that because I would happily recommend it to anyone who's looking for less expensive lens options. And then I think selfishly, there are some lenses. This is a softbox, by the way. It is the Light Dome 3. So we're gonna open this, we'll open this off camera and set it up and replace the lights. There's too much stuff on my floor. There's way too much stuff on my floor right now. But then I would love to see more niche lenses like a 24 1.4 or a 35 1.4. We know that Canon is supposedly coming out with a 35mm prime of their own. Right now we don't have it, and even when it does come out, you know it's gonna be a little bit more expensive. And then of course we know that China-made lenses from companies like Sirui or Viltrox haven't really been available on the Canon RF system. You have cinema lenses, which are completely manual, but they also make, like Sirui makes their Sniper series, which is a line of APS-C autofocus lenses. Of course, they're not available for Canon. Same thing with Viltrox. If you know the famous 85 millimeter 1.8 lens that was originally available for the Canon system, and then Canon kind of told them, hey, don't make that lens because it uses autofocus, and now you can't buy that lens. It would be really awesome to see lenses like that return. So again, for people who are looking for sub $1,000 lens options, that they have something available. But let me know, is there a lens that I missed that you really want to see from Sigma or from Tamron, or maybe there's a DZO lens, a Sirui lens, an IRIX, maybe there's something out there that I don't know about because I've just been simply shooting on Canon this whole time. Actually, technically, we're shooting on the Lumix S5 IIX, but that is for a future video. We'll talk about that probably at the end of the month. I've got another video coming out on shutter speed, hopefully the end of the week or next week, so stay tuned for that. And until then, get out, grab your camera, grab your APS-C Sigma lenses, and go shoot photos. So I just noticed that the softbox, the light dome that Tamron sent, their 3, uses a completely different mechanism. So there's no like sticks, there's no like punchy things to do. And I think all you need to do is just like do it like this, where you put it against the ground and then it's like magic. Like the whole thing lies flat, which makes it way easier to store. And then I'm assuming, boom. Just like that, it's flat. Literally the fastest to assemble softbox that I've ever seen. Good job, Aputure.